Young Europeans, the most recent additions to the European Union, Lithuania, Latvia, and to a certain extent Estonia, they greatly overestimate their significance for Western Europeans, for the EU long-time residents. Those in Europe who maintain common sense and genuinely care about continental security, though there are fewer and fewer, understand well the provocative role assigned to these Baltic states, primarily by their British overseers. It is well known. London's role in provoking various situations, including the recent case when the FSB exposed a plot to force one of the Russian pilots on a MiG-31 fighter jet with a Kinzhal hypersonic missile to fly, allegedly at the invitation of the Constanta military base in Romania, with a clear aim to orchestrate this aircraft being shot down there, accusing Russia of attacking the North Atlantic Alliance. But we leave that aside. The FSB exposed all this in great detail. I do not know how the British will wash their hands of it. Though their abilities are well known, it'll be like water off the duck's back. The Americans have repeatedly, in relation to dictators in Latin America, Central America, expressed this notion. Yes, this dictator is a son of a Shultz, but he is our son of a... The European handlers of the Balts have a similar attitude to their antics. They are assigned the role of committing as much filth as possible in relations with the Russian Federation, and at the same time of provoking Russia into actions that they will then attempt to sell to Washington as a basis for serious military actions under the 5th article of the NATO-Washington Treaty. We see this happening. The memorandum mentioned by the Financial Times journalists is a non-paper, a so-called informal draft, which was sent to our US colleagues not after Russian President Vladimir Putin's conversation with US President Donald Trump, but several days before that conversation. The purpose of this memorandum was to remind our US colleagues what was discussed in Anchorage and what understandings, at least as it seemed to us, and which the Americans did not refute, were reached during the meeting between the Russian and US presidents. There was nothing in this unofficial document beyond what was discussed in Anchorage and did not cause rejection by the American colleagues. The phone conversation between the presidents took place after this material was handed over to the State Department and the National Security Council. 101. During the conversation, President Trump did not say a word about this paper being provocative, subversive, and undermining all hopes of settling issues. Absolutely not. They spoke calmly, and President Putin responded positively to President Trump's suggestion to meet in Budapest and suggested instructing foreign policy departments to prepare for this meeting, which we planned to do. President Trump said that U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio would call back. He called 3 days later. We had a good, polite conversation without any disruptions, confirming the progress based on the understanding of Anchorage, and parted ways on that note. The next step was supposed to be a meeting of representatives of foreign policy, military, as I understand it, departments, and probably intelligence services. But no further steps came from the Americans, and we were waiting for an initiative from them regarding the specific place and time for such a preparatory meeting, since they proposed to prepare the top-level meeting. Instead, there was a public statement that there was no point in meeting. By the way, when Marco Rubio publicly commented on our phone conversation, he didn't say he noticed any escalation that undermined the chances. Not at all. Look at the quote. If I remember correctly, he said that it was a constructive conversation, and it clearly showed us where we were, so it was not necessary to meet. We have no grounds to justify ourselves for being committed to what the President spoke about, and if not agreed on every dot and comma, but reached an understanding in Alaska. He, U.S. President Donald Trump, said, "I thought, I've decided not to hold this meeting for now because we are not yet in agreement." It is in the spirit of his logic, which he recently outlined, that sometimes it's necessary to let warring countries battle it out. So I sincerely do not see a connection here. We are ready to discuss, and for those suspicions that arose among our American colleagues regarding us doing something secretly deep underground somewhere, we are ready to discuss with American colleagues the resumption of preparatory work for the meeting of Russia-US leaders proposed by them. If and when American colleagues renew their offer and are ready to start preparing for the top-level meeting so that it indeed concludes productively, Budapest would certainly be preferable for us, especially since Donald Trump confirmed Budapest as a preference for Washington in a meeting with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. I find it incorrect to compare our relations with Belarus, which is part of the Union state, with which we have synchronized, coordinated, unified positions on all key issues of international security on one hand, and our relations with Venezuela, which is a friendly country and strategic, comprehensive partner, as we recently signed the relevant agreement. But of course, considering the geographical factor, among others, it's incorrect to compare it with the union we have with the Republic of Belarus. I am sure that the line the Trump administration has chosen regarding Venezuela will not lead to anything good and will not enhance Washington's reputation in the eyes of the world community. When Zelensky regularly poses on television, presenting awards to Azov fighters and other Nazi battalions with Nazi Germany insignia on their sleeves, how else can you treat this person? So Nazism, I mean the eradication of Nazism in Ukraine, denazification, is an indispensable condition for settlement if we want it to be long-term. We do, and we will strive for it.
If you like this video, then like, share, and subscribe to Mirror Now.